This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truths. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Writing, reading, and meditation saved my life. All of us at some point face a crossroads. Which direction we choose can have an impact for a long time. Personally, I believe there are no wrong turns, only detours. That is especially true if we wake up to life. What I mean by waking up is being fully engaged in life with your mind, body, and spirit. Valeria Teles interviews Jackie Trottmann, the author of The Art of Letting Go to Live with Joy and Flow. Jackie Trottmann is an international and award-winning author of 2 books, God Notes, Daily Doses of Divine Encouragement, and The Freedom to Eat, 10 Secrets for Lasting Weight Loss and Inner Peace. Her meditation CDs, Be Still, Let It Go, and Trust, help people all over the world overcome PTSD, panic attacks, anxiety, and ceaseless mind chatter to find greater peace. She blogs at joyandflow.com, where she encourages readers to share their mindset from stressing and striving to allowing life to unfold as they follow their heart's desires and God's nudges. Meet Jackie at JackieTrottmann.com. Here is the interview with Jackie Trottmann.
In your own words, who is Jackie Trottmann?
Jackie Trottmann. Oh gosh, is ever evolving, ever growing to become that person that God has created me to be. It's just an ongoing process.
My first official question is about the events in 2020. What insights have you gained from those events?
The most profound thing is how we're all connected and how everybody's life is significant, that it's so easy to take our everyday lives for granted. And especially when the pandemic first happened and we didn't know what was happening and we were kind of restricted to just go to the grocery stores. And I thought, oh my goodness, how it was almost a domino effect of how everybody is connected. And I had not been mindful or aware of that, of the people that grow our food, and then the people that harvest it, and then the truck drivers or the people on trains that deliver it, and then the people in the grocery stores that put it away. I mean, it was all these connections that I had just taken for granted, and how someone that maybe if they were working in a grocery store and they just thought it was an insignificant position, how vitally important that became. And that was a big takeaway, and just how we were all in it together and experiencing this all at the same time. And so much so in America, we tend to live in a society that promotes individualism and just bringing that front and center.
Do you notice that also the rest, that need for reflection, or the opportunity we had to reflect, to pause, to rest more?
Did you also notice that change?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all of life's distractions got ripped out from everyone's underneath their feet, and I have just been on this journey anyway for the last 10 years or so between my writing and meditations I've created. I've just been more reflective anyway. And this was a big wake up call, I think, for everyone that was running on the treadmill of life, the rat wheel that I used to call it, of
Yeah.
being unconscious and just filling up your day with either activities and work and all of that, and just falling into bed exhausted and getting up and doing it all over again. It just really made you stop and think, what is most important?
My next question, it's connected to the book we discussed last year, The Freedom to Eat, a wonderful book and message too, with so many powerful messages. So the question is, what are some of the greatest misconceptions about weight loss?
I have to think about that. Misconceptions about weight loss. Well, I know for me and for so many people, it's more of an outward thing. It's trying to get to a certain dress size, or I don't know, do we say dress size?
Yeah,
to a size, or to an image, or conforming to what we're supposed to look like, or that certain size. And it's not about being healthy and that food is fuel for your body. And I mean, I love to eat. I love food. I think food is, we kind of talked last time, it's very pleasurable and it's wonderful. But when you're not eating properly and you're eating things that aren't bad for you, it's more taking care of yourself and wanting what's best for you.
Which we can connect to self-love, right, Jackie?
Yeah, and your unconditional self-love that you had asked me about last time, which I had not heard it put that way.
Yes, self-acceptance, right? Which is a topic that you will be exploring in the moment, acceptance. So one more question for you, the warm-up questions. What is about healing that we need to know and understand more?
It's getting kind of back to that distraction again. When we were talking about what happened with the pandemic and all of these things being taken away, a lot of times, or I would say the majority of times, we want to avoid pain. And if we are going through if we've had any kind of trauma, which we all have some form of trauma, we end up not going through it or wanting to feel it because it's too painful. And then we look for alternatives to mask that pain. So we want to be distracted. So it's easy to eat, or it's easy to grab a cocktail, or it's easy to binge watch on Netflix, or there's all these different things, or even read a novel. It's just that was another thing with this last year, is it forced people not only to be reflective, but to be in a place of solitude. And people aren't, they're afraid of silence. We live in a noisy world. And so even when you're having a conversation, people don't like the gaps in a conversation. They feel like they have to fill it, or they have to think of what the next thing is to say. So until you really heal, you can't really live with joy and flow and freedom, because you're holding on to that, whatever that is. And eventually it starts to nag at you, or it affects you physically, that you might get to the point where you start to get sick, or things happen that you then eventually have to face it. So you have to bring things to light so that you can heal and then fully live.
And what I wonder a lot of times is if we can really live in these states all the time, or this is more like a movement, dance, always moving in and out of balance? Would you say so?
That word balance is really kind of tricky because
Yeah.
when you think of balance, it's, if you're standing on one foot and
True.
you're trying to hold different things, it's like you're exerting all this effort,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
try to maintain that balance. And I kind of think balance is a myth because one thing is going to suffer, and maybe suffer is not the right word, but you're going to have to let go of one thing in order to just do another. And it all kind of balances out, I guess. But it's not 50-50 all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So you're writing a new book that will be titled The Art of Letting Go to Live with Joy and Flow. And you also have created this wonderful, beautifully designed and beautifully put together healing tool, I call it. It's called Letting Go Meditation, Prayer, and 3 Steps to Letting Go. 10 meditative affirmations to let go and let God. We'll be exploring the 5, which you sent it to me, the letting go meditation, the letting go prayer, and the 3 steps to letting go. So my first question to you is, what was the inspiration and purpose of writing this new book and creating this new meditative work?
The older I get, I just realized, to quote Yoda, the Jedi Master from Star Wars,
Yeah.
you must unlearn what you have learned. I just find more and more I must unlearn what I have learned and let go of many of that, so many things. And just the let it go, it just happened. And how I woke up was when I was in my choir director's office. Oh my gosh, it was like 2001 when I was taking a lesson with him, a voice lesson, and he just abruptly stopped and swirled around on the piano bench and planted his feet and looked at me exasperated and said, "Why won't you let go?"
Right.
And that's what started it, because it really jarred me out of my unconscious life and the life I had been living. And that's what led to these meditations and the healing, and discovering that it really came down to that being reflective, like you had mentioned, and looking at my life and what I wanted my life to be, and how many things, even the weight that I had held on to, I was stuffing down my emotions. I didn't realize I was using food to do that and to numb myself out. And I just wasn't able to feel. And so that just led to this healing, in order to me to start to live with joy and flow in my life. And then it's just looking at those things that I've learned, or what we're exposed to with society. I mean, everything, the images that we're bombarded with, especially on social media, and the measurement of everything, how many likes you have, or how many followers you have, or how many comments you get. It's just, it's letting all that go, letting go of those things that really don't matter and bring you joy.
What is the difference between letting go and giving up, Jackie?
We don't like to use the word surrender or giving up. And what I like to say is that it's giving up the struggle. And 12-step programs have been so effective with that. It's that turning things over to a higher power and just kind of relinquishing that struggle. It's almost like if you're in the water and you're starting to drown, it's not you don't swim faster, or you don't try to exert yourself more. It's like if you relax and you kind of be able to float, you know. So I kind of say it like that. It's not it's letting go of the struggle and the control that we want to hold on to.
Is guided meditation somehow different? In what way is it different from other kinds of meditations when it comes to letting go?
It's particularly easier, especially for someone who's never tried meditation before, because the mind is created to think, and it's easier when someone is guiding you through the process, because then you get an opportunity to focus on the present moment and focus on what's being said in a peaceful way. And in order, and then by doing that, then you let go of the thoughts of self-doubt or anxiety or the fearful thoughts or what I'm going to make for dinner, or
Right.
I was supposed to be sending that email. It's like all these
True.
thoughts that happen. And I was actually leading a little meditation to a group of women that had never done it before, and they were like, "Wow, I wasn't thinking about anything else. Like I was able to be present." And then one woman had said, "Oh my gosh, I fell asleep, and what did I miss?" And it was on a Zoom call and she was on the phone. So that's why I got into meditation through a guided meditation. And it was so helpful to keep me centered and present and peaceful.
And then have you tried different kinds, or you always use guided meditations?
Well, I mean, to me, journaling is meditative, but it's really writing out thoughts, but it helps calm me down, and it really helps to get on that healing aspect. Again, if I'm feeling anxious, if I journal about it, I instantly feel better that I've written it and gotten it out. But I don't know, not so much. I don't really sit in silence per se. I'm almost at a point where I have quieted my mind enough that I try. There's this odd verse that Paul says about pray without ceasing. And it's this mindfulness of God's presence or that peace within us almost constantly. I mean, not always, but just being mindful of that. So I'm able to pause before I speak to someone, or if someone asks me a question or something happens. I no longer react to things. I process it and kind of observe and step back and kind of question what is really going on here. So I try to live my life that way, really.
So another aspect of your work, you integrated meditation, prayer, and affirmations. You actually have the prayer of letting go. So talk to me about affirmations. I never used them. So I would love to know more the effects of affirmations.
I give the example in the handout about how Jesus was kind of a master of using affirmations. Like he said, I am the light of the world. I am the way. I am the bread of life. It's more I am statements are very powerful. And on the flip side, it also works. If you say, I am depressed, I am anxious, I am fearful, that causes you to be that way. So if you say, I'm at peace, I'm okay, I am enough. I don't really do affirmations like that consistently, but it's a way to catch yourself, to stop yourself from doing the negative affirmations.
You wrote, for some reason I was not able to have that phrase here, but you say, let go and trust in the still small voice inside of me. I let go and trust in the still small voice inside of me. My question is, why do you think the voice of intuition or divine force, the voice of God, it's so small? Or it's why it's called? I have heard that before. So why is that?
It's drowned out by too many outside voices. We're just exposed to too much in our world of technology now. We're connected to our devices. We're connected to, especially now with the pandemic, connected to the news. I watch the news every day. I never watch the news ever before. Right. And I always like to say I want to be informed. I don't want to be inundated. But we're just inundated with all the, this is what you're supposed to look and be and have, and all the practicalities of what I love is the work that you're doing too. And you just said this brings you life, for you to have these really deep conversations, because that's what really you feel led to do. And it's listening to that voice inside of you instead of all the what you're supposed to do and what society tells you to do, or your parents tell you to do, or what religion tells you to do. There's just so many voices, and we don't listen to our own. And then we lose trust in ourselves if we try to take a little step and we're not successful, or the people that surround us aren't buying into what our hopes and dreams are. So it's just really listening to that voice, because it's the voice of truth, and it is our essence. It's not the color of our hair or our skin or how tall we are, or, it's really the truth of who we are inside of us. And that brings us peace. When we listen to that voice and we really know in our hearts what is right, then we're at peace.
You say acceptance does not mean liking it. So talk to me about acceptance. What do we need to understand more about this wonderful state of living?
Well, I guess I can use the example of my husband, Robert, because he was diagnosed with Parkinson's 7 years ago. And he's done really well, but he's starting to struggle now. And he's just the perfect example of acceptance. He's not bitter about it. He's not upset about it. He's accepted that he has it. He's doing all he can to be as healthy and exercise as he can, but he accepts it. And when we don't, and he doesn't like it at all. But yeah, and then as we age, I'm at this great weight, at my goal weight, even below what I had always aimed for, but I'm aging, so if I look in the mirror and my eyes are baggy or something, I can get upset about it, or I can say, hey, this is just the way things are, and I want to do my best to shine my light brightly and not care about the sags or the bags.
Right. Yeah, it's the attention, the focus, right? We give to these aspects, to these parts of life. Yeah, I love the idea of integration, just bringing everything together. And your husband, with the going through the acceptance process, do you think he's already there in a sense of inner peace?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's the most inner peaceful person. I know, he really is. He's such a loving and giving person. I mean, he truly does accept things.
So talk to me about the retreats that you're hosting. The Joycation, those are fun names. Hopecation and Flowcation. Those are fun. Very cute.
Yeah, it was fun. I just, last year, I don't know, I just felt pulled with it was in November, with all the political strife, and it was the holidays were coming up, and I thought, gosh, I would like to get away, and I know other people would like to get away, and I thought, well, let's do a joycation, get away to a place of joy, and it was really fun. I had like 15 people signed up, and it was just a lovely time for connection and people sharing. And so I decided, people were really just wanting that connection. And I have a wonderful connection via email with my followers, but I wanted something deeper. And I just miss, and I'm sure you can probably relate to this with your work, you're behind your computer all the time, and you're not really in front of people, and it can get very lonely. And so I just decided to have these retreats, and it's been very life-giving for them and life-giving for me. And so I'm just going to continue to do that.
I know you have a page, you send it to me. I'll have that link also on your podcast profile. And this happens, you're hosting them 3 to 6 times a year, right, Jackie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'll have the link there too. You created a course too for men to connect their head knowledge of God to heart knowledge of God. What an interesting idea too. So I'm wondering what inspired you to create this course?
Well, and I call God the God of surprises all the time, because I never expected to be working with men doing this. But I was looking at creating a course, and I was actually going to do it for my Freedom to Eat subject. And I had just sent an email out to my list of people, and I just said, hey, I'm looking at people that want to talk to me about their relationship with food and God, or just their head knowledge of God to heart knowledge of God. And I had all these men that signed up to talk to me, and they all shared the same challenges and desires, that they have this head knowledge and they don't connect it to their heart, and they just feel kind of distant. And I was just really shocked, and I just created this course, and the men that went through it, it was just a wonderful time, because men aren't vulnerable. They aren't like we are, that we could just talk. You and I could probably talk for about 3 hours.
True.
with sharing and opening up, and they just don't do that. And what I found fascinating was just to talk also about spiritual things. And so anyway, it just kind of blossomed and happened from this need that they expressed.
I do have a few more questions, 2 questions for you, the ending questions. Before that, would you like to add anything?
Well, it is really important to determine what you need to let go of in order to live your life with greater joy and flow and freedom. And that's either in your relationships, what you've been holding on to that you really need to let go of, possessions, just as far as are there things you just need to really clear out? Just any number of areas to let go.
Yes, there are so many things. You mentioned some of them, negative thoughts. I think I added limiting beliefs, past mistakes, stress, all that, circumstances, people. I do have a question for you here about how do we know, what are the signs that we are holding on to these things or those things that don't serve us anymore?
It would be a feeling of discontent.
Yeah.
It's really hard because if you're not aware, if you are not self-aware, then you aren't going to necessarily know that you need to let go of these things. It's almost like you need something to happen or jolt you into kind of waking you up. And through just all the distractions that we have, and maybe a lot of people did wake up during this time because those distractions have been taken away.
Right. That would be so much better if we become conscious and awakened, as you said, aware, so we don't need those situations anymore.
Well, and I would say too that the still small voice starts screaming at you.
Right.
It's no longer still and small.
Yeah, it becomes much louder. Right. So true. What are 3 things about life you know for sure as of this moment?
I know that God created us to love us. I know that we are created in God's image and we are creators. And I know that love conquers all.
I love your work. I love your message. Absolutely love your authenticity too. And everything that you do is just beautiful and in alignment with what we call soul, the spirit. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Where can we find more information about you, your books, products, services, courses, and future projects?
You can find me at joyandflow.com.
Beautifully and simple. What a great name. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now, Jackie.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Jackie Trottmann and her work, please visit JackieTrottmann.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.